Hello everyone, welcome to a very special presentation what I want to give about hunting and nature conservation, how we can work closely together all around the world and help to support each other. Today I want to show you some examples where we in Germany, Europe, but also worldwide work together between protecting the nature, protecting the game, and also going hunting. When we look at Germany over the last decades, really the countryside was really more and more flattened out so that we have more and more big fields, which helps the production. But on the other side, it destroys a lot of habitat for our animals, like the rabbits, like the hare, and so on, because there were no more hedges where they could hide. So they, over the time, got less and less. And here's an area where we as a hunter really support more and more over the last years because we are building up like these hedges, we are building up the trees between the fields, which now will offer hares and so on more and more new ways where they can really live. Other places where we support is we are planting our own corn and maize, which we then use to really support the game to stick into the forest and not run into the fields to destroy the stuff which we need for the production for the human food. And this is also something which again helps the game to really get food, but also get cover from the animals, from the enemies. And that's something what really costs a lot of time of the hunters, but really helps to protect the nature and protect the different species. Another example is that we plant also green lines between the different fields where we have flowers and so on. And this is something which also helps the animals to really have still a place to be after all the corn and the wheat and so on is harvested in the fall, because normally they get a kind of a harvest shock. If there's nothing existing anymore, they just go in the fields and everything is gone. And now with planting these special, even if it's small areas like you can see here between this field and this field, but this already helps to give them coverage like for the hare, also for the partridge, and also helps the insects. Another example is planting flower areas. So more and more areas in our hunting areas, we are also planting these flower areas where you really have protection for like the roe deer, the wild boar, but it also helps the bees and also the other insects to really have a place to be. Because when you look at the big agriculture, normally they put out all this insecticide and also pesticide to really get rid of all the insects and the flowers. And here they have really a place to be where they can really have a peace place to live. So beside Europe, there's also a lot of cooperation between hunting and nature conservation in Africa. The best example here is Namibia. Namibia is one of the countries worldwide which supports most of the hunting tourism. In Namibia, about 80% of the population lives in rural areas where there are really not so many jobs. So these people are really depending on the hunting because a hunting farm gives them jobs, gives them money, gives them food. So for example, if you work on the hunting farm in the kitchen, as a tracker, as a skinner, then normally all the family lives also on the farm. So the whole family benefits from one person working on the farm. On the other side, also a lot of money goes from the farms into the local communities. Also, the meat which we hunt there is often either sold very cheap to the local communities and sometimes also donated. I mean, I've seen myself in north of Namibia that we have donated quite a lot of the meat to missionary schools where they have children or poor children who don't have normally food. So we give them the oryx, like you can see here, meat, which they then use for feeding their children in the school. And beside this, you can also look at the animal growth in Namibia. So since as Namibia is supporting really the hunting tourism, the number of game what we see in Namibia really grows over the last years more and more. And we see the same in South Africa. So that really the protection for the hunting really helped to get a stable population of the animals and even grow in most of the areas, which then again helps the local communities. On the other side, hunting tourism in the meantime is one of the highest income for whole Namibia after their raw materials, what they produce. And it's much higher than the normal photo tourism. What you can see for the photo tourism, there are really nice places in Namibia you can visit, but it's only specific spots. In these spots, for sure, the photo safaris really make a lot of money and bring it to the local communities. But unfortunately, there are only a few spots where you can do this photo tourism, and the majority of the country is just rural area where there's no really spot where you can do photos. And that's why these people will not benefit at all from photo safaris. If you on the other side look at hunting you can do nearly all over Namibia. So also in the very remote areas, you can see and benefit from the hunting because the hunters go there, do their shooting, pay a lot of money, which is then going to these communities. Another example also from Namibia is the hunting on leopards. It also very, very controversial. Should we shoot really leopards in Namibia? But here you need to see a leopard eats a lot of cattle. So if you're now a farmer and you are living from cattle, and now the leopard is always killing your calves, then you have a real problem because he destroys your lifeblood, which you need for living. And in this case, the hunting of leopards really helps to compensate for the loss they have from the leopards eating their cattle. And nowadays, for example, let's say if you use 10, 20, 30, 40 cattle, but on the other side, you can sell one leopard per year, then you make enough money to really compensate for your loss on the cattle. And with this is a win-win for the farmer, for the hunter, and for the whole society, because if one leopard is shot, there might be still 5, 10 others who can still live on the farm eating the cattle, but this one leopard who died in the end paid out for all the others who are allowed to live. On the other side, we have seen 2008, 2009, when Namibia closed down hunting on cheetah and leopard, what happens? These were the years where the highest number of leopards and cheetah were killed in Namibia for all the years. Why? Because now for the farmer, they said, hey, I can't get money from it. It's just a pest now for me. So they shoot whatever leopard and cheetah they saw, just put it under the ground, just that they don't kill any more their cattle. And here you see how really the conservation and hunting really goes hand in hand and can support really the leopards, because if one is killed and all the others can live, it helps the leopard population much more than if you don't get any money from it and the farmers just try to erase them from their farm. Another very good example how hunting goes hand in hand with nature conservation is for the rhinos in South Africa. So rhino poaching is a big thing in South Africa. And in the meantime, there are really huge and really well-equipped groups who are hunting for the rhinos or poaching the rhinos. And this costs a lot of money to really protect them. And there are areas where, for example, big global nature conservation groups have own rhino reserves where they protect the rhinos, but it costs a lot of money. So what they do is, on these reserves, you can now legally hunt the plains game. So what they do, they hunt a few of the plains game where they have too much, and all the money what they get from the legal hunting on their ground directly goes into the protection of the rhinos. They build the fences, they pay their anti-poaching units, they pay the food for the rhinos and whatever is needed. So here you really see how the nature conservation also goes really hand in hand again with hunting. And then last but not least, one example from Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is well known for the big game hunting. But what most people don't know is a lot of the money that you spend when you shoot a buffalo, an elephant, a lion, whatever, is really going back into protecting exactly these animals. So there's a huge conservation fee, there's a license fee, All this goes to the national parks. The national parks then use this money to really pay for anti-poaching units, for protecting the animals, if needed, buying foods, and so on. So they really use the money to help protect the animals. So the hunting is directly related here to how we can protect the animals. One example is when I was in Zimbabwe, when you go hunting there, I mean, beside the normal PH and tracker, what you always have, you always also have a ranger from the national park with you. So he's tracking everything you do. So to make 100% sure that everything is done on a legal way. On the other side, these rangers driving around with you also, of course, check if they see poachers in the area so that they can call their colleagues from the anti-poaching units. And beside the rangers driving with the legal hunters, there are also a lot of covered anti-poaching units, which are day in, day out in the areas, always walking around, checking for poachers to really protect the animals. And what happens if you stop the legal hunting? We have seen in Zambia or also lately in Botswana, because what happened is there was no more income from the hunting. So the national parks had no more money. That means they stopped the anti-poaching units because they couldn't afford it anymore. And in the end, the poaching really went up, like in Zambia. And some years later, when they detected it, they really restarted the hunting to really protect the animals, because they say, hey, we need the income to really pay our anti-poaching units to really protect the animals. And similar things now also happen in Botswana. So Botswana is just now also opening up the hunting again. In Botswana was a little bit different story, because they got a lot of pressure from their own population, because the elephants really destroyed a lot of their food because they were growing too much. And now they have also opened up again. But also from Botswana, there, I know during the period when it was closed, a lot of poaching went up because the anti-poaching unit were removed or not paid anymore too much. So that's why either they didn't protect them, or sometimes they even did the poaching because they just needed food. And so now with a re-establishment of the hunting, now the money is flowing again so that we can again protect the animals. So this is just a few examples how hunting worldwide really helps nature conservation and protect the game species. It's really big in Africa, where some countries really would not be even able to do anything without the hunting in this industry. And even like Kenya, which has closed hunting many years back. And since this time, their population on the game animals really went down drastically. And there were even some rumors that Kenya is thinking about reopening hunting to protect the animals, to grow the animals they have, because then they get more money to protect them, and then they can grow the numbers. But beside Africa and Europe, what I just presented today, there's of course also nature conservation in all other continents, especially in North America, so US. The hunters spend really a huge amount of money in protecting the different nature, and also to build up again animals in areas where they have been before. They might be extincted, and now they try to reintroduce them to really protect them, like Sheep Foundation and many other places where we as hunters really work together with nature conservation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm happy to get comments down here on the video, so that we can really go into a discussion to what you think about hunting and nature conservation, and how we really can work here together to make the world a better place for the animals and also for us.